we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Mental Health Monday here on Even Tacos Fall Apart. Super happy to have you. I am back from a little break. Thank you guys for letting me take that and still showing up. I really appreciate everybody who shows up here, even whenever I take a couple weeks off to recharge, because God knows I needed it. But I'm really excited for tonight's conversation. My guest today is Wednesdae. You know what? I didn't ask how to say your last name. Would you say your last name for me?
Sure, it's Reim Ifrach.
Okay, that is about how I would have said it, but I didn't want to screw it up, so I'm glad. Thank you. But Wednesdae is an art therapist and counselor who co-owns Rainbow Recovery, which I, first of all, just love that name. As you guys know, I love rainbows, so there we go. But Rainbow Recovery is a practice serving clients across Connecticut and Pennsylvania. And their work centers on expressive art therapy and somatic therapy with a focus on gender-affirming care, LGBTQ plus issues, body image, and eating disorders. They've presented at places like Yale, Smith College, and the American Art Therapy Association. And their art therapy work has shown up in some pretty incredible places, which we're going to talk about tonight, including the Monument Quilt at the Baltimore Museum of Art and Artful Practices of Wellbeing program. Wednesdae is also a published author. Their book, Queer Expressions, covers expressive art and somatic therapy practices for healing body trauma. And there's a poetry book out called Hex and Flesh, with a second collection, Skeletons, Sequins, and Kins, coming soon. Just these titles are amazing. I love it so much. But today we're going beyond the clinical side of things for this conversation. Wednesdae is going to talk about how expressive art therapy became a part of their own healing and why they believe, therapists or not, we all do fall apart sometimes, and we all need new ways to cope. So that was a long-winded intro, but Wednesdae, welcome so much to the show tonight. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you taking the time.
Of course. No, I'm excited. I love this.
Yeah. Awesome. Good. I'm glad. It looks like I have one thing. I said that I thought I forgot something, and here it is. All right, let's see if this is working now. We're going to test it by posting your socials, and hopefully they will go through and be posted. If you guys are looking to connect, they did. Excellent. If y'all are looking to connect with Wednesdae, I've got their links up here. There's website, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Medium, and Spotify. So feel free to click through on any of those. Make sure you engage with some of the posts and make sure that you are leaving a comment, leaving a like. All those things are what really make a difference. So pop through, make those connections and everything. And Wednesdae, I would love to just open us up by saying, you know, what kind of made you become interested in specializing in mental health?
So I actually thought about this question a lot and how much of the answer I wanted to give everybody. And I was like, I think this is a group of people that deserves the real answer. So long story short, high school was actually really, really hard for me. I'm about to be a doctor, but I was one day away from failing high school. I had missed so much high school. I was depressed and anxious. I didn't want to go. I think my mom saw this kid that was struggling and tried therapy and tried everything, and a lot of things didn't work. The one thing that worked outside of therapy was this art teacher who had heard of art therapy and was like, instead of doing regular art class, you can spend an entire year studying art therapy and making therapeutic art in class, but you have to come to school. You just have to come to school. And you just have to come to the studio. And if that's all you do, like, we have a win. And it was such a good buy-in because, like, here we are, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like for me, and I think it's true for a lot of people that grew up in like the early 2000s, like, I mean, it's true now in a different way, but bullying was rampant and we didn't understand mental health. And I mean, I tell everyone it was to the point where like literally someone had put a joke in one of our yearbook voting things so that people would vote me most likely to drop out of college. Like, that's how bad it was. And at the same time, here was this teacher that was like, let's ignore everybody and just make a space where you can show up and do this. And so I think as I went through college and all of those things, instead of letting all of those negative voices be the only thing that lived in my head, I let her and my best friend's mom, who was also an artist who like really fostered this part of me, kind of sit in my brain and kind of like took years almost to like marinate in there until finally I was like, no, you want to work in mental health because you don't want people to think they have to treat each other this way.
Yeah.
And you want kids like you to have a place to go where they know an adult's gonna listen and not judge them and be that safe place. And then honestly, I think as time has just gone on, that's expanded based on my own expansion as an adult and kind of just what like the world has put in front of me.
Yeah. Now, was this a public school that this happened at?
It was actually a private school that I personally
Yeah.
chose to go to because it was better than our local public school in terms of mental health. And it's still obviously there's nowhere you can go when you're struggling or
Right.
kids aren't going to be kids. And you put a bunch of kids together that are struggling, and there's so few of us in a school like that compared to a big school.
Yeah.
It was going to happen,
Yeah. Well, I mean, good on that teacher for recognizing what was going on and providing a way
right?
to help and everything and kind of setting you on that path. 'Cause I think that even if you are a well-liked kid, my youngest is very well-liked. He's got a lot of friends. He's also a little weirdo. And so that sometimes gets him into some situations where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I wish these kids would not pick on him in this way and all of that. But
Yeah.
he's been picked on since kindergarten because his favorite color is purple and he's got long hair. And so it's like he knows how to deal with it already. Fortunately, he knows how to deal with it already. And he did have some things this year where it was like, okay, well, make sure you're involving your teachers so they know what's going on, but you know how to handle yourself, so you're going to be okay. But not every kid has that. Not every kid has that background. Not every kid has that awareness. Not every kid has that ability. And to just have a teacher who's like, this one needs some help. This one needs a little bit of a different approach, because
Yeah.
especially in public schools, in Texas at least, which is Texas, so there's that. But in Texas at least, it's hard to give anybody a different approach.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just teachers they don't have that control. So I'm glad that
Yeah.
you were able to have somebody who had your back. But sorry you went through
Me
that.
too.
What a bummer.
Yes, and maybe this is like my therapist, like, let's look at everything through a positive lens. Um, it's so interesting because that teacher in those moments, ironically, are the same moments where I ended up citing the same books that she handed to me now, 20 years later, writing my own book. And so to me, I'm like, that's the most amazing thing is this person who
Yeah.
invested in me 20 plus years ago. The same authors that I read that helped me get through that are the same ones that I get to send them copies of my book and be like, thank you. So I
I
just
love that.
sometimes feel like the universe really does come around, but sometimes we have to go through things that make no sense
Yeah.
to get there and shouldn't have happened, but we get to make meaning out of things as human beings, which is one of my favorite parts of being a therapist is helping people figure out the meaning of their stories.
Yeah. Well, that's a perfect seg into my next question, because I was going to ask what's a book or a movie or a show or something that had a really lasting impact on you.
Okay, so I actually went through all my piles of things for this one. Um, so the first one for me was shouldn't surprise anyone that knows me, the movie Beetlejuice. I definitely was allowed to watch it at a very young age that I probably shouldn't have. Um, but I was a kid that was like really existential, like wanted to know about death from a really young age, really tried to figure out how the world worked. And like Beetlejuice sold it to me. I think I like really was like in second grade being like, I'll just go to the DMV in the afterlife. And my parents would be like, you don't understand that joke. Don't say that. Also, we were making those jokes in the 90s. We don't make those now. Um, but like for me, it wasn't just like the fun or the camp, right? It was like it actually showed me people that looked like and dressed like and were kind of more like me as a weird kid. And
Hmm.
it was cool. And people wanted to watch it. And like people were buying their things. Like that story really made sense to me. And then so nerdy. It says so much about me. The book Midsummer Night's Dream. I read it
Yeah.
every year and have since sixth grade. Um, it's just, I mean, I know it's Shakespeare and it's a play and that's not everyone's thing, but I'm like, it's just such a whimsical, magical, like, thing. And
Yeah.
I think there were so many characters where, like, things like gender and sexuality and stuff doesn't quite make sense. So I think from a young age, it just, like, really spoke to a part of myself that I didn't understand yet, but it gave me that place to have it that I think a lot of other writing didn't for me at the time.
Yeah. Now, okay, couple of questions. Have you seen the
Hmm.
new Beetlejuice, and what did you think of it?
I have, okay. I was a little disappointed. It was a little hard for me. We laugh in our house because I'm like a little bit of a purist. Like even Star Wars will be a whole fight if I get into it. But I saw the original three on my dad's VHS from when it first came out.
Yes, yes.
So I'm like, guys, I don't know what you want me to do. Um, so I appreciated the overall storyline, and anytime that I can kind of see those cast members together, I'm happy.
Yes.
So that was great. And I think we went a little overboard. And I really missed Barbara. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, my oldest really likes Beetlejuice, and so whenever he went and saw the new one, he was like, okay. And he's like, but he can just separate them. He can just be like, that's a movie and that's a movie, and they don't have to be the same. It's fine.
Same. Yep.
But he definitely loves Beetlejuice to the point where my parents took him to a Beetlejuice play that was done locally here. So then he came back with all kinds of stuff, which was really cool.
I love that.
Yeah, no, and then Midsummer Night's Dream is just such a whimsical story. Also, that one might be my favorite Shakespeare play. I really like it. It's such a good one. And you're right. There's a lot in there that it's just like, well, that's quote unquote not normal, and then to see it and go, oh, there's some representation. Nice. I like that.
Yeah.
What's something that folks are surprised to learn about you?
Oh, this is my favorite one. So I think because I'm an art therapist, people go, artsy kid. I actually played 6 sports growing up.
Oh, wow.
And I'm a very competitive person. So I played soccer, softball, tennis, volleyball, basketball, and competitive swimming. And I actually played volleyball all through high school. And we almost won the New York State private school circuit state championship. We lost by 1 point, and I may or may not have thrown a hissy fit on a court. And I'm actually not embarrassed about that as an adult. We played really hard.
Yeah.
I actually really enjoy watching hockey and rugby, but I think people see artists and sometimes are like, oh, there's no way. And I'm like, nope, I like a good fight on a hockey rink, and I still do enjoy playing volleyball on the beach.
Oh, no, I love that because it's just, there's always a depth to people that, sometimes you find out one thing. It depends on what you find out first. If someone finds out that about you first, they might be surprised that you're also super creative and super artistic and that's your focus. And then if they find out that you're super creative and super artistic, they might go, wait a minute, you're also into sports?
Yeah, it's so interesting. I also think if you're like in a bigger body, or like I do a job where like I sit all the time, like people would associate being a therapist with activity in general, and people like, oh, like you like to go to hockey games and like do the thing. I'm like, do I like to go to a hockey game? I will fight everybody for the best seat. No, you will see a very different side of me. I'm always like, I hope no clients are at this game because I have a lot to explain on Monday.
I love it. I love it. There's a couple of hockey teams here, but when we were in the playoffs, one of my coworkers wore the rival jersey on a Teams call, and I was like,
Oh no, we know better. Come on, guys.
No, it was all good spirited. It was all in good fun, and neither of our teams won the cup, so it's okay. It'll be all right. All right, so we mentioned expressive art therapy a little bit already, but for someone who's never heard of that, what is expressive art therapy? And then also somatic therapy, because I mentioned that in the intro. And then what are the differences between those two and what overlap is there?
Sure. So expressive arts therapy uses all of the different kinds of art forms. So like studio art, like painting and sculpting, but also dance and movement, music, drama, and creative writing. And what we do is we integrate it into very traditional psychology. So we're trained to be psychotherapists, and then we're trained to do basically all these art forms. We're in school for a really long time, guys. And then there's this whole field of research that basically shows us how do we put these together to work with people's specific issues. And so there's different protocols for different diagnoses. There's also like a whole overarching piece to it. But the idea is to kind of like help someone by drawing out what they're experiencing in ways that their mind and their body can best process.
Mm.
So for some people, it's very visual, right? Like they're doing painting. And I always tell everyone I was also trained as a traditional art therapist, so studio art is generally my thing. But it could also be that when someone moves their body and doesn't have to use words, their movements express something or help facilitate a feeling that they can then express.
Yeah.
Um, and what I love is like expressive arts therapy is actually for everybody. So we could get into that later, I know. And then somatic therapy is really interesting because I always kind of like lump them together, which isn't what I think a lot of therapists traditionally do. But it's really based on the idea that like our minds and our bodies are very deeply connected and that our bodies hold on to a lot of our feelings. And this is where I say in front of a group of people and roll my eyes, okay, we all know The Body Keeps the Score. Most people have heard of that book. It's
Mm-hmm.
actually very reductive. And please read expressive art therapists who write about this, their books, because we've learned to kind of expand the idea that it's not just that your body or your nervous system holds trauma, right? That is true. Our bodies also remember things. They remember experiences that we've had. It remembers, I don't know, my example to people is like when I get anxious, I feel it in that space, like where your stomach and your rib cage meet. Like I can literally, as I'm talking about it, feel it, even though I'm not anxious.
Yeah.
And then my body, the rest of my body reacts, right? So in somatic therapy, what we're learning to do is talk about not just where do we feel it, but how do we work through that feeling and remind our bodies as well as our minds we're actually here and we're okay, or hey, we're not okay. This is a sign to actually run or do the thing we need to do to feel better. So traditionally, when people hear about somatic therapy, they think about a lot of breathing exercises or maybe some movement. What I do is I actually combine the two together. So it might be that we do a dance movement technique and art together. And I kind of work with my clients really creatively to figure out what combination of things works best for them. Because everyone is different. Also, everyone's ability is different, and what they're comfortable with is different.
Yeah. The just kind of like whenever my therapist first talked about where do you feel that in your body? I'm like, are you crazy? It's all in my head. What are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes it can be really easy to try and minimize it a little bit and be
Uh-huh.
like, has nothing to do with my body. It's mental health, right? That's what this is all about. So, is there, what would you say to that? Because I know what my therapist said to that, basically called me crazy in a very nice way. I have got a great relationship with her, but, but what would you say to someone who that's their gut reaction of like, well, it's in my head, it's not in my body.
I mean, I thought the same thing when I first learned about this, both as a client and as a therapist. And here I was studying all this, and I was like, wait a minute, this is fascinating. And then usually what we would do is we would talk about like disassociation is a really normal, healthy thing that human beings do.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes what becomes a normal, healthy coping skill becomes this thing where like we literally are disconnected from the neck down. And
Yeah.
that's how your mind and your body kept you safe from whatever it was. And it's going to be really difficult and scary to experience all of that together again because there's a reason why it got separated. So what we're going to do is we're going to work together really slowly to see if that's possible. And it probably is, but you might not like it and you get to decide how much of that you want to do.
Yeah, the disassociation piece is a big thing that I had to work through. It's not
I
pleasant.
mean,
I won't call it
I tell
pleasant
clients
or
I
fun.
tell clients I had to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Like again, that whole secret that because magically I sit on one side of the chair and not the other means magically like my life's been great or I haven't had to do this is
Or it
not
was
true.
easy for
And
you. Yeah.
right, no. In fact, what I tell my clients is I won't ask anyone to do something I'm
Oh, now it's all catching up, of course. Okay, are we back?
I think we are. I can hear you now. That was so
Okay, great.
sad.
Yeah. I actually have somebody coming to the house tomorrow to look at my internet because it keeps
I'm so
doing
sorry.
that. And I'm like, what is going on? So I work from home. I do this every Monday. I'm like, I can't have not internet. That's not how this works. I do everything on my computer. But yeah, no, I love the idea of just the, you're not going to do it if it's not something you've tried yourself, because then you can speak from
Yeah.
personal experience, but then also from that background of like, actually I've done all the research too, and then I've experienced it myself. So I think that's really important. Are there certain traumas or diagnoses where expressive art therapy or even somatic therapy would work better than others?
So this is where I'm supposed to tell you it works for everybody. And I do
Right.
believe that. However, right? However, what I can say is like I work with a lot of people that have complex PTSD, not veterans or combat related.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, a lot of eating disorder and body image work actually really, really benefits from it. What I say to people is, for me, that's usually my most interesting work is anything that is specifically like body related. So any trauma related to the body, any other kind of therapy. In general, it's easier for me to find them resources compared to maybe something more cognitive. And I say this all the time. My boss is going to listen to this and he's going to be like, you're not allowed to make fun of my specialty. But like, I'm not a CBT person. If I'm working with your body, I'm not really worried about how your thoughts are influencing your behaviors. I'm really
Yeah.
worried about how you're feeling in your body.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's interesting that you bring up CPTSD because that was one of my diagnoses. Sorry, when I sat back
No.
down, I like sat on my thing, and now it's pulling on me. But it's very true, because that's one of the reasons that I had to work through a lot of what I had to work through, is because I had, like, my intuition was nowhere to be found.
Hmm.
It was gone because I didn't trust myself after my own experiences. I didn't trust myself and everything I had been through, and it was hard. It was hard to work through all of that. So it's interesting that you brought that one. Interesting to me specifically that you brought that one up.
I mean, I'm super open and honest with people. I'm like, I have that diagnosis. I know what it's like as a human
Yeah.
being. I know what it's like to work through with it. And I think it's really amazing that at the same time, I get to be someone's therapist who deals with
Yeah.
that. And I don't say this because it's something that I also deal with, but I'm like, sometimes there's something to be said from sitting with someone who gets it on a different level. So
Right.
I really made it a commitment to work through it enough that I could sit with someone who could potentially have the exact same story and be okay.
Yeah. 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 And that's, I mean, it's hard to I think have that story reflected back. Sometimes those stories hit me the most. But if it's the closest to my
Hmm.
story, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh shit. This
Yep.
conversation is bringing up a lot for me. So, and I've, I'm years past it now. I've done a lot of work, and now it's less. But especially whenever it was first happening, I was a part of a group, and it was like, boy, hearing some of these folks talk about it is harder than hearing some of the other ones who it's not similar. and
Yep.
and so yeah, it's was it difficult for you at first to work with clients who had been through anything similar? It doesn't have to be like exactly your story, but was it more difficult for you, or did you find it easier?
Um, that is a great question. I think that it depended on the day, to be really
Yeah.
honest. I think that I was lucky I had a really good therapist I started seeing while I was in grad school. We actually still work together. Shout out to Carrie, who I'm sure listens to everything I do. Because in my brain, she does. And so I think because I was with someone that knew me really well when I was starting my career, I really had this safe place to go to be like, this thing was triggered, or like a client shared this story and I don't know what to do. And I
Yeah.
had two mentors when I graduated that were my clinical supervisors outside of my job. So I did pay for someone outside of my job for that. So I kind of had created this team of people that knew where like I could really fall apart and know that I had people to reach out to, that for my mental health and my career, like I had what I needed. I feel like if I didn't have them, it probably would have been far more difficult than it was. And this is where I'm always like, if you're going to be a therapist, you have to go to therapy and you have to have supervision and you have to have a team, just like you would have a team if you were still dealing with something major that was happening in the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you have a Carrie, because I also have a Carrie who I feel like watches everything that I do, and I know she doesn't, because she doesn't have time in her life to watch everything that I do. There's no way, but at the same time, I'm like, Oh yeah, she's gonna watch this for sure.
No, Carrie's, they both are, okay, and they probably know each other in my brain.
Maybe they do. Maybe all Carries know each other, and and they network. Maybe they trade off. Maybe it's like Carrie's gonna watch this. Only one of them has to watch
Right?
this.
Then they all know.
We saved you time. You're welcome. So we've talked a little bit about this work becoming part of your healing before it became your career already, but was there a specific piece of art or creative act that made it a turning point for you?
So it was actually an artist and a musician for me that kind of made it happen. So my mom is really interesting